Adam Caplan and the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions once again. Adam, a huge win. Eagles 40, Chiefs 22, revenge from 2 years ago, the second Super Bowl in franchise history. And man, you couldn't have seen it coming the way they did. Just total onslaught and total domination in this game from start to finish.
Yeah, it was an absolute annihilation. That was my feeling throughout the game. Not only did the Chiefs never lead, it was kind of like, is there a mercy rule? It's not bad. They're up 34-0. I'm like, the cool thing is, like, the clock was really running a lot in the third quarter. I'm like, wow, we might actually be done in this game by 10. I'm like, oh, then the Chiefs got the garbage numbers in the fourth quarter. But this is hard to believe. But I will tell you, a number of former players I spoke with during my interviews with Sports Grid this week, some are former Eagles, like our own Jason Avant of Q&A. Jason said that the Chiefs would win very close, or the Eagles would blow them out. That was an amazing that was an amazing play. That was just that was an amazing play. Let me move this a little bit. Yeah, I was just blown away by everything. And by the way, every phase of their game. Jake Elliott, the first kick was a little shaky, but it went in. Then he just like money Jake. Hurts was solid offensively. How about this one? And everyone's saying, well, if they shut down Barkley, Chiefs have a chance to win. Guess what? It didn't matter. Hurts outrushed Barkley. Who would have called that one? Who would have seen that? Wow.
I feel like this game was exactly what we talk about with Eagles Washington games. It did not follow the script. It was not close. It wasn't epic like I thought it was going to be, as far as neck and neck, tight and tight. One team's going to have the ball with 2 minutes left. What's going to happen? It was a total domination. And the only thing that this validated is what we had said going in, is that the Eagles had the better 53-man roster.
Yep.
The Chiefs have had an unbelievable ability, because of their quarterback, their head coach, their defensive coordinator, their personnel, to overachieve and to play above their talent level. But this was the best Eagles 53 that they've ever put together, including the one that won a Super Bowl, and certainly the one that lost 2 years ago. And everything they did with almost perfection, especially defensively, and everything the Chiefs did looked hard. It looked difficult. Just to get 3 yards, Adam, on a play, impossible. It's halftime, and the Chiefs have 24 freaking yards. Like, the Eagles had that on one play 4 or 5 times. And once you saw that happen, once you saw how the defense really set the tone, it almost didn't matter whether Barkley was going to pop one or not. As long as they took care of the ball and kind of executed offensively like they generally can, you knew they were going to win. And then everything just fell into place in the second half. They made the Chiefs be who the Chiefs are. And I've only seen that once before, and that was the Tampa Bay game about 3 years ago, I think it was. But they made Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs look like that. Totally confused, humbled, and without an answer.
Yeah, a couple things in the pregame show actually were the biggest storylines of this game. What did we talk about ad nauseum in the pregame show? The left side of the Chiefs' offensive line's a problem. The Eagles embarrassed Joe Thuney. They pushed him back. They were relentless. Mike Caliano shouldn't play. That was a mistake. I know Andy Heck's a hell of an offensive line coach, but that was a major factor in this game. And not that the Eagles had to throw the ball much, but what did we talk about going after Jalen Watson? McDuffie would not be a problem. He was not a problem. If the Eagles needed to throw, they only throw it. Remember, Hurts only threw the ball 22 times, okay, because they were killing them.
Yep.
Had this game even been remotely close, I'm telling you, Hurts would have 350 to 400 yards. He didn't have to, because they were killing them. Mm-hmm. But think again, Barkley he only averaged 2.3 yards per carry, and they killed them. They put up a 40 burger. It's just an amazing football game, folks. I'm seeing all the comments here. There isn't one phase of the game that wasn't great. Jake Elliott was great. Braden Mann did a good job. Their coverage was good on special teams. I know some people were concerned about that. Hurts was really good. The offensive line had a little bit of leakage occasionally. Remember, Becton missed a number of snaps in the second quarter. Tyler Steen came in and struggled, but it's not easy to do that. But overall, this was a well-coached game, phenomenal game. And for all those dum-dums who said the Vic Fangio, how good of a coach he is because he's never coached a number one defense. Now, how do you feel?
Oh, well, he's got his ring now, and that will make his entry into the Hall of Fame very legit. This was, as we get a lot of commenters here, first of all, let me just thank everybody who's even here right now in this chat for this post game. Love all the comments. Really appreciate all of you. We'll be happy to post any of your comments, answer a question. If you hit that super chat button on the bottom right somewhere there and give us a nice tip, we will absolutely tell you how great you are again, and also post your comment. And there's one specific comment that I'm going to post anyway, and this is very legit. From TRC 41476, Eagles DL reminded me what the Giants did to Brady in Super Bowl 52. Is that either whatever it is? No, 42. I'm sorry. Right, and that's correct. I mean, that front four pressure. The thing I talked about in my own personal preview. I know, so that's what I was going to say. Snag's got a taste of his own medicine in effect, because he's seen this before. Vic didn't have to blitz. We wondered if Vic was going to have to blitz because the Kansas City Chiefs could pick apart his own. He didn't have to, you said. Milton Williams took care of it. That's a guy that you predicted would be the game MVP. Josh Sweat took care of it. The pressure took care of it. And by the way, I know a lot of this is going to focus on the pressure, and we'll talk about this further, but there were plenty of times, because Patrick Mahomes has been getting the ball out in 2.7 seconds. There were plenty of times he was trying and he was pumping. So that meant the coverage was as tight as the pressure was overwhelming, because he's been used to guys getting pressure. He's just been able to get the ball out of his hand. He could not get the ball out of his hand. And when he did, Adam, Cooper DeJean pick, couple drops, Zach Bond pick, it was just nothing going right for the Chiefs. So great marriage, like we talk about all the time, between your front four rush and your back end coverage.
It's just funny because a lot of people thought there was no way the Eagles could win up front without blitzing. And, it's the old adage, if you're not winning with four, you got to bring five. Well, they didn't have to bring five because they won with four. And they won with Mahomes looked so frustrated. Similar to when the Bucs smacked them around, a couple years ago, some years ago when Brady was quarterback. He called the game for Fox with Kevin Burkhardt. But it's just remarkable to me. They were relentless. It was just Josh Sweat was absolutely incredible. Uncle Milty was phenomenal.
Uncle Milty.
I love calling him that, Milton Berle, for those of you old enough. By the way, the Eagle final pressure numbers are not in. My guess would be they had at least 15 pressures. I count on my own 12 through the fourth quarter. Mahomes got, dude, it was. I mean, maybe people are real Chiefs historian could tell me when he got smacked around more. Again, maybe that the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, but this is just. I mean, if we've seen this, let me throw this at you, and folks in the chat. Was this the best defensive performance of this season? I would say yes, right?
Yeah. Given who you're facing, given the way you overwhelmed that team, and given the magnitude of the moment, this was by far and away their most impressive defensive game of the season, because nobody would have predicted going into the game that they were going to make Patrick Mahomes look like a very mediocre quarterback and make bad throws and bad decisions. And
he looked rattled, didn't he?
Yeah, he was rattled. You texted me this early, and I think you were right. They were in his head, because I felt like there were times that he didn't let the play develop. He was already running at perception. You know how we talk about perceiving pressure. Yeah. Now, the pressure was getting there, but there were times where he just looked a little like he didn't trust that protection to hang in there that half a second more. And that's when he started to run and then do the Russell Wilson pirouette, which is not good for him. And then all of a sudden he's starting to look like the guy from a couple of years ago against Tampa Bay, throwing passes while he's getting hit and annihilated. So, I do believe they were in his head quite early from the start. Sure. I mean, they clearly feared the Eagles defense. The first few passes, he was getting the ball out like lightning quick, and some of them were low and one was high. And that's a testament to Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense.
It's unbelievable. Vic Fangio is an incredible football coach. It all really started for me, and ironically, in New Orleans in week 3, when with the old unscouted look, he moved Bond into the box at end. He would not let Kamara have those zone cuts, the outside zone runs. He shut them down. That ruined, by the way, the Saints season. They were never effective after that. They packed it in after that.
Yeah.
This is Vic Fangio. I'm old enough to remember because I was a Star season ticket holder. Of course, I'm not old as Vic, but I do remember being in high school and being a Star season ticket holder. And that Doghouse Steve, for those of you who are old enough to remember, was something pretty special. This is the Doghouse Steve here, folks. This is an unbelievable defense. They really, and the coaching. And I don't want to take anything away from the 17 team when they won the first Super Bowl, because that one with our friend John T. Filippo and the rest of that staff was phenomenal. This roster is better, by the way.
It is.
And all my friends are texting me season ticket holders. I have two friends who are actually they have not left the was it Caesar Superdome?
Yeah, I still just call it the Superdome. Big thanks, by the way, to Papa John 201 with the $4.99 tip. Really appreciate it. His comments that we are champs too. What a year! Yeah, listen, you're all champs. This is for you, Eagles fans, because, and I know that no matter what the score was, no matter what time was left, I don't think anybody felt good until like the Gatorade bath. Probably, I have a friend who I'm not even allowed to like say anymore that the game is in the bag, even if the Eagles are winning by 50 because of his fears. So I let him say it when the Gatorade bath went back. But yeah, this is for all the great Eagles fans, and also thank you to CJS 1148.
Oh, I know who that is. That's Chris.
Chris. It's our friend Chris. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
He's an awesome dude.
And I really do. Listen, I love this job. Sometimes we have a war with the fans who get on us and we get on them, and so. But we always say we love them for them to be happy, and we love for them to be engaged, and we really love these moments for them. It's great. It's fantastic, and you couldn't have asked for it to be any. There's no. The one thing you didn't want to leave this game with, right?
You weren't nervous. Go ahead.
Is like, oh well, it got handed to him by the refs, or the field was slippery. There's no asterisk here. The Eagles kicked the shit out of the Chiefs. That's just what happened. They just did. They really just did.
They did. Look, there were a couple. But by the way, the questionable calls in the first quarter went against both teams. Okay,
both right.
Let's call it like it is. The Eagles kicked their ass from beginning to end. Like the thing, it's funny because I know you were referring to the Discord chat. Like a bunch of our friends in there were like, they were not gonna relax. They're like, no, you keep the pedal. Kevin was ready. Keep the pedal to the metal. You absolutely have to, and they did. I want to mention this with Kellen Moore. Anyone who was concerned about him being the Saints head coach, you could throw that out the goddamn door. He is so bleeping aggressive. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, hey, you know what? And I love that the balance between the run and pass in the first half. Okay, Barkley's getting shut down. Take a shot play. Barkley's getting shut down. Throw it to Goddard. Throw it to Smitty. Oh, by the way, Smitty is incredible.
Yeah.
And the usage of personnel I thought was great.
Yep.
Honestly, I mean, quite frankly, folks who are in the chat here, is there anything you could really complain about? Anything that you didn't think was good tonight?
No, I can't. I would love to see it. I think people are too happy and overjoyed to complain about anything tonight. Even play calls, which are always, even after wins, we've had issues.
Yeah,
I like to point on Kellen Moore real quick because I was charting the personnel groupings for the first like almost for all three quarters. But first drive alone, we saw 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 21 personnel, and 22 personnel. There was a play where they ran fullback, running back, and two tight ends. So they definitely mixed it up. I like that. They've done that all year long where they alternate it and then they eventually settle into 11 personnel, which is kind of how the game went. But it was really cool to see how they did it and what the Chiefs were going to do. And I don't think the Chiefs really changed up defensively much. They ran their kind of the blitzes the way they did. For the most part, they did a good job.
Front too. By the way, they reduced their front and they clogged the middle up. The one thing with Saquon, they just cannot get to the second level. Saquon cannot get to the second level where he could use his vision. In fact, a couple plays and he made on his own, that 9-yarder and also the incredible catch where he bobbled it and concentrated. But yeah, definitely Art Canola, good point. I forgot to bring up Dotson. How about Dotson showing up tonight?
How about it? Yeah.
Wow.
We were trying to figure out who's that unsung guy. For me, it was like, I don't know, it could be Marquise Brown, it could be Oren Burks, but it wound up being Jahan Dotson. And it felt like, oh, wow, this is going to be the game where they throw it to like Jahan Dotson 7 or 8 times. No, it was just one of those games where Jahan Dotson makes an early impact and gets things going for the offense. I like the rhythm of the offense, Adam. I'm especially impressed that it had a rhythm without an impactful run game, like without a typical Saquon Barkley 40 or 50 yarder. Sure. I will say, I think the Chiefs stepped on their toes a little bit with some really bad penalties in the first half. They had a couple of third down penalties that they're going to look back at the tape and say, "Oh my God, maybe maybe we could have had momentum a little earlier if we didn't, jump off sides or hit a personal foul or do that." But even if they did, the way the Eagles suffocated them defensively, it might have been a little closer, but I don't think the Eagles were losing this game.
They just, and the thing is, you have to take advantage of the opportunities that you're given. They took advantage of it. They were relentless. The defense and the energy and the execution on that side of the football, the coaching from Bobby King. Bond did it again. Cooper DeJean, big play, obviously with the touchdown. I don't care that Quinyon gave a play late. Who the hell cares?
Who cares?
What a great rookie season he had.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter's a beast. Mildy showed up tonight. Jordan Davis, by the way, had a sack. Give him credit.
Yep.
And another comical thing I said in the chat on Discord is like, the Chiefs are down 27. They're running the football. I'm like, keep running the football. Great, run the clock out, please, so we can get done early. So stupid. Of all coaches, Andy's running the football when they're down 27. Oh, thank you, BA. Yeah, Avante Maddox on the fourth down play.
You know what's funny? Everybody had the same thought. Everybody had the same two thoughts about the Avante Maddox play. One, they're like, holy cow, Avante Maddox made a great play. Yeah. And number two, why in the world was Avante Maddox in there?
Yeah, exactly.
And the kicker of it is, Adam, that he just came in for that play because it's the play before that Cooper DeJean went to the sideline to get evaluated. I don't know, he had some kind of injury concern or something like that. So Avante went in for the play and made it.
Unbelievable.
I mean, Avante Maddox makes a play. You're winning the game, man.
It is. I say, because everything was rolling. Everything that Vic touched turned to gold. One of the all-time coaching jobs in my career in this market in 27 years is Vic Fangio. I don't know that he could have done a better job. I know people were upset, the game in Tampa. Remember, they were out with a number of players, particularly on offense. They have now won 17 of 18 games. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think it's 17 out of 18. That's incredible. I mean, Nick Sirianni and Hurts together, they've won a ton of games. Got to give both of those guys credit. We must mention Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, the best owner of the National Football League. He doesn't settle for anything. Sometimes, we've talked about when he overreached. Yep. We've detailed that this will be our 8th year coming up. We called them out when they need to be called out for a variety of reasons, but we also praise them when they deserve it. And Howie's the best general manager in the National Football League. Even someone who I would say is not a fan of Howie's from another team texted me tonight. He goes, I told you after the Washington game how great of a job Howie is. He goes, I'm not a fan of his. And I remember the guy telling me that he was kind of rooting against the Eagles because he doesn't work there anymore. But he said it again. He goes, dude, they're really good. And he exclamation point. And that's a show of respect. Yeah. That he's given it up, that the guy knows how good of a roster the Eagles have. And we'll get started in free agency within a week or so. But they're still going to have they're going to have a core roster no matter what happens in free agency, folks. And trust me on this, they'll never let this team fall off. That ain't going to happen. That's the thing that's special part about Jeffrey and Howie together.
Oh, yeah.
They'll never let that happen. And I know the coaches love Howie for this, how aggressive he is and how detailed he is in his plan. And the way that by the way, he's become a really good evaluator. Do people understand how good of an evaluator he is? Wasn't always.
Was not always, and he does watch tape. He's a big part of that. Wow, Jalen Hurts was named Super Bowl MVP, which is a remarkable achievement given everything that this kid has been through, from getting benched in the national championship game, having to transfer to Oklahoma, finishing runner-up for Heisman. I think he was the runner-up, or then coming into the NFL as a second-round pick. Just an amazing thing for his career. And, we've certainly been critical of him throughout moments this year. We're not going to walk back or pretend that we haven't, but he was very good in this game. I think you could have picked 4 different guys to be MVP. So it's, the quarterback usually gets the nod in that. He did have 3 touchdowns. So great for him.
I mean, Hurts was good. In fact, I remember Greg and I agreed. I thought Hurts would rise up. I said it in our live stream before the show at 5 Eastern. I'm like, I just feel like Hurts is going to get the job done. He sure as hell did. The thing is that Howie's done such a good, but the real story, that the secret sauce of this team is the draft. Yes, Howie and the draft, folks. He's run a masterclass out of really for the last 4 seasons. Yes, the 20 draft, other than Hurts, of course, was abominable. But since then, he's been phenomenal in the draft. I can't tell you why, other than the results are phenomenal, and they're really set up well for the future. When you nail these two kids in the back of in the secondary with DeJean and Quinion, and by the way, Blankenship, Reed Blankenship's just a stud. He's a really good player. What did Greg tell us that from his people he talks to within the Eagles building? They said he's a tone setter for the defense. Wow. Guy was an undrafted free agent. That's pretty good.
And I tell you what, bringing back CJ Gardner-Johnson after kind of an ugly way that it ended with the money and everything, and not hold, because Howie in the past has been a little bit at times, you could say he can hold a grudge, or he can be a little petty about things. Yeah, or vindictive. In this case, not so. They worked it out. They brought him back. And he's been a big part of their success. He does talk a lot, does get himself in trouble, but he plays hard. He plays well, and he is a leader. Andrew DeCecco wrote an amazing story about CJ Gardner-Johnson on InsideTheBirds.com, and it'll really help take you inside. He talked to his trainer, who's based in New Orleans, and showed you how hard he was working in the offseason, not just on being a better player, but a better leader, right? And how the young guys do look up to CJ Gardner-Johnson. It's just one of those great stories that goes along with the Zach Bond coming out of nowhere and Jalen Carter emerging into the best defensive lineman in football. And, Vic Fangio having these pieces and challenging them, and Vic did challenge them. I remember when they were 2-2, when they lost that week 2 against Atlanta, and they got ran all over, and Vic walked into the meeting on Wednesday for their week 3 game. And he says, anybody want to play defense this week? He wasn't sweet talking them.
What did he say?
Did anyone feel like playing defense this week?
Did he say that? Wait, did he say that in press?
No, they asked him what he said to the team.
Okay. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
This is after the Atlanta game where they gave up all those yards on the last drive, and Bijan Robinson and Algier probably combined for like 200 rushing yards. And he said, you guys want to play some defense this week? He didn't browbeat it, but he basically said, look, this is not us. And he motivated them to play. And the best thing about the defense, what we talked about going into the year, was not only that you had the Vic Fangio defense, not a template, not a pretend carbon copy.
Yeah, the real guy.
You had coaches who had worked under him that were going to be able to be a buffer when Vic can be a curmudgeon, right? And Nick Sirianni, by the way, he can be curmudgeonly too, but also be able to take the messaging from the top and trickle it down so that everybody was on the same page. And if there's one thing that stood out about this Eagles defense this year, is that they played zone, which requires communication. It requires everybody knowing their role, knowing their responsibility, and they played it better than anybody in the league. They communicated better than anybody in the league. They switched off when they needed to switch off. They matched when they needed to match. Adam, I don't care if you brought Nostradamus down here himself. He couldn't have told you after all that shit last year that the Eagles were going to be this good and number 1 at it.
What we have to do is on what your point is, right? We should tape 2 different shows to lead off the season. Let's do one where you say the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl, and we have no idea how they're going to win it. It's just, you can't make the season. Zach freaking Bond, are you serious? This is ridiculous. The guy never played inside backer in his life. He's the best inside back. He beat out Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Everyone I talked to saw tape of both players said it wasn't close.
Right.
Get out of here.
I was joking with Malcolm Jenkins, who of course is also a Saint, along with down on Radio Row. I said, everybody gets on Joe Shane for letting Saquon Barkley go, and he's on Hard Knocks, and he's the butt of the joke. I'm like, not that I'm trying to, take a crap on anyone or get someone fired, but Mickey Loomis had 4 years of Zach Bond playing special teams for him, and never. They're pretty guilty of not seeing a guy's potential either. You got to be fair. You can say this one's a lot harder to see, but this guy went they snapped their fingers and made this guy into an all-pro linebacker. How does that happen?
It's what Vic said, because I remember when he was asked, he said, well, I saw a couple plays where I thought he could do it. He didn't know. Bobby King, who Andrew also talked to, did a great piece for us. You could, was that on audio too, or was it just on the website?
It was only podcast. Yeah, there was
great. Make sure folks you hear that while you're celebrating and staying up till 5 a.m. and not going to work tomorrow. But here's the. I just want to go over this very quickly so you know who's going to be here for a long time. Jalen Carter's going to be here a long time. Nolan Smith should be here a long time. We'll see about Bond, Quinion, Coop, Blankenship, Gardner Johnson, the entire four starters in the secondary. Okay, for the future are going to be here. CJ, by the way, CJ owns a gaming company. I think that has part of to do with it. Why he's kind of grown up. He knows he's got to be better. He's a businessman, so he knows. Mailata long term, Dickerson long term, Lane whenever he decides he'll be here as long as he wants. Jurgens will be here a long time. Now Becton, I'd be stunned if he comes back. Not that the Eagles wouldn't want him back, but they do have Tyler Steen. We know about Becton's injury history. You got to think he's going to get a much better bag on the open market than he would get here. Nothing's done yet, but I certainly would be surprised if he's back. Smitty and AJ, of course.
Yeah.
Hurts, of course. This thing, the base of this team is really, really good. You build around them.
Yeah. The nucleus is there. You're right. The foundation is there. And if Howie can continue to draft well, then they should be in good. Like you mentioned, they're not going to just take a year off or 2 years off. They, of course, know they're going to have to turn over. They understand that. And in some regards, they went into this year turning the roster over. Nolan Smith was a young guy who had to play. Jalen Carter was a young guy who had to play more. Zach Bond, young guy who had to play more. Nakobe Dean had to play. And people were a little nervous about that when Howie said it at the Combine, that they weren't just going to go out and sign all the big name free agents. They signed two, really. They signed Saquon and they signed CJ Gardner-Johnson. No one expected Zach Bond to be a big, huge addition to the team.
No, we were expecting him to be a backup edge, and then no, actually, what am I talking about? We put that out that they were going to play him inside and outside.
We did, yeah.
And then they
didn't know it was going to work. We knew that's what they wanted to do.
Yes, they wanted to do. Right. And then they tried him at inside backer, and they were like, "Huh, this is interesting." And then they took him. There were no backup outside reps anymore, and became an inside starter. By the way, we also need to mention this one. Number 58 played very well tonight. Jalix Hunt. He's another guy. Like he got pressed in the surface. He's a fascinating player. He's kind of developed quicker than we thought because he wasn't supposed to play this year. That was their plan. And he did. Trot Jr. in limited time looked really, really good. But so we just mentioned this class, right? DeJean, Mitchell, home run, on the way to being home runs. Hunt really contributed a lot. Trot Jr. did a good job, we were told, behind the scenes. Johnny Wilson is just as a blocker. I know he never gets the ball. He had a drop tonight, which was not good. But, he did play. The 23 class, Carter, the grand slam, home run so far. Can't be denied. Nolan Smith really came on after a very tough start. Really a player. Ringo as a fourth corner is okay. Tanner McKee, by the way, fascinating prospect. They're very high on this kid. I talked to Jason McCourty, who did what game did he start against the Giants? I think. You
mean the game he broadcast? Him and Sanchez did a game? I think it was against the Giants.
He said that he could just tell in the production meeting how super high the Eagles are on McKee.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. I'm not saying it means anything other than, okay, the Eagles like the player. Okay,
well, you have to wonder, does Kellen Moore try to make a deal to take him with him to New Orleans? You have to wonder who Kellen Moore is going to be taking with him to New Orleans. We already know he's very likely, if it's not a done deal, that he's going to take the quarterbacks coach, Doug Nussmeier.
We put this out on one of our shows a month ago. We think it's going to be Nussmeier's OC, but I believe Kellen's going to call the plays the first year. That's kind of what we heard. But then you look at the 22 draft. Jurgens well on his way to being a player. Nakobe was doing great before he got hurt. Calcaterra, for a 6th-round pick, contributes. You could say whatever you want, block well.
Sure.
He contributes. Sure. Jordan Davis is not what they thought he would be or hoped he would be, but he does contribute. He contributes. He's not a bust. He's just not contributing enough.
Right.
21 class.
Compensate for him not being a 3-down lineman and star.
Right.
So he gives them contribution that they need.
Yes, but he's not. He needs to have a great offseason. Look at this 21 class. Holy bleep. Devontae, home run, contract extension. Landon Dixon, home run, contract extension. Mullet Williams is going to get the bag. What a 3rd-round pick. I don't know if there's been a better 3rd-round pick in Howie's career.
In Howie's career? That's a great
round.
Yeah, not in Howie's career. I know Brian Westbrook was a 3rd-rounder, but that wasn't Howie.
Yep. Kenny Gainwell.
Certainly no safety. Certainly no corner or safety, right?
Yep. Gainwell, 5th-rounder, terrific 5th-rounder. You know what? You have to say for a 5th-round pick, he's one of the better backup running backs in the league. He's done a good job.
Yeah.
They got a little mileage out of Patrick Johnson on specials for a while. Howie, the only players you could say that they technically missed, Dylan McMahon. Okay, wow, it's a 6th-round pick. this year.
Yeah.
Other than Moro Jomo, I forgot to mention, he's contributed. It's honestly, there were no since the bad 2020 draft, other than Hurts, he's been killing it, man. He's been absolutely killing it.
100%. All right, we have more people now entering. So everybody who's here and join the chat, if you want to talk to us, please hit the super chat button in the bottom right. We'll put your post up. We've already had a few people donate, and we really thank them. We've got a lot of people watching, so hit the subscribe, hit the like. Anything you can do helps us. It has been quite a journey this year for Inside the Birds. We've been very, very happy to try to cover this team from every single angle, whether it's us, Andrew, through the website and podcast, Quentin, Michael, Jason Avant, Sam Finkel with the analytics, Greg Cosell with the tape breakdown, and everybody, John DiFilippo, so many people who've joined us on the Patreon network as well. It's been an unbelievable experience. We've probably talked to over 100 different people associated with the Eagles and the NFL, if you total up all the weeks, and really gotten as many different storylines and opinions and insight into the Eagles as we possibly could. And you know what? We're going to keep doing it into the offseason. We already have some plans that we'll announce pretty soon for some new programming, both for the mainstream and for Patreon, as we continue to make this thing going. But we always need your help and support. So anybody who hits that super chat button and wants to have their question answered or their comment displayed, please do that. We appreciate it. And again, we appreciate everybody who has been watching. Adam, I'm trying to think. This wound up being 40-22. This was actually the largest blowout since, I guess, what was the Tampa Bay one? That was 40-9, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go look. The one, no, that was 31-9. So that would be 22 points, right? And this one wound up being 18 points.
Yeah. And honestly,
they were on their way at one point to beating Seattle's 43-8 margin over the Broncos in 2014.
31-9. By the way, it was the Tampa Bay Kansas City Super Bowl.
31-9. So that's 22 points, correct?
Yep. And this was 22.
No, this was 18. 40-22. 22.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 18. I'm sorry. Yeah, 40.
Yeah. But they were almost close when it was really loud. When it was 40-0, they were challenging that 43-8 blowout that the Seahawks had over Denver in 2014. I tell you, it really does in this era to blow somebody out is even more impressive. We saw a bunch of those in the late 80s and 90s, but almost every Super Bowl in the past 10 years outside of that Tampa Bay Kansas City one has been a one possession game because the NFL has gotten more and more parity. And so to be able to put a win, a waxing like this up, I'm not even sure the Patriots or the Chiefs have beaten anybody by this in their dynasty. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is. This is. I love. Someone said earlier. I thought it was funny that there. I forget which guy said it was his most relaxed game of the season was this one. Like, who would have thunk it? That's the thing. I can't believe. Here's a couple things I do want to add though.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the Chiefs' problem is if you look at their offense, how disappointing they only scored 30 or more twice, once in the playoffs and once in the regular season. We're talking about the Chiefs here.
Right.
The passing game. Their inability to get the ball downfield to those two speedsters, I know Worthy did late. Who cares? It was all garbage anyway. When the game mattered, they couldn't do bleep. That's the thing. And I know the Fangio defense is built least amount of explosive plays given up in the passing game by any team this season. Fangio's defense, and it shows. It's just remarkable to me. They couldn't. Andy must be pissed. Time is his, and it ain't real good right
now. You think so? I mean, I'm sure he's. I think you got to be. You're right. You got to be pissed when you're
miserable after this.
2 weeks into a game plan, and it's pretty much done by half
quarter.
Right.
First.
You got like 24 yards by halftime, especially when you're an offensive-minded guy. Now, I used to check in with some Kansas City people after he was losing big games with Alex Smith, and they would tell me he was 2 days. He was the same Andy that you would think he won the Super Bowl. He was always so good at just never getting too high or too low. I mean, of course, I'm sure he goes home at night after a loss like this and really, eats 5 burgers instead of 2. Depression.
I actually thought about that earlier, to be honest with you. Because he always talked about having a cheeseburger. But this is this SmackDown that you don't forget like talking to coaches over the years, when you get boat raced, which is
Mhm.
coaches use that term all the time when they get blown out.
Mhm.
It's incredibly painful because it's the last game of the season. I'm sure it'll motivate Andy, but he's got to look. He's got to look at his offense. It's not very good. They don't run the ball particularly well. He's
Yeah.
that's a problem. The left tackle position's an absolute. They went through 4 left tackles this season. Okay, 2 draft picks. One of them got benched. Wanye Morris, he wasn't even active.
Mhm.
DJ Humphries, who's healthy enough to play, they decided they were going to stick with Tooney. Tooney got smashed a number of plays tonight. He got crushed.
Yeah.
And Mike, don't call him Frank Caliendo, should not have been out there. That was embarrassing.
Were you surprised? I meant to ask you this. Were you surprised they didn't come out of the half with DJ Humphries at left tackle and Tooney back at left guard?
I agree with you. I don't know why they didn't do it. He didn't play tonight. He was active but didn't play. Sumatea, the second rounder at BYU, didn't play. It's a good question. They should have done that because at that point, Tooney showed he couldn't play left tackle. What do you have to lose? Move him back to left.
Yeah.
Protect Mahomes. Not that they would have won the game. And then the other thing is, what I find comical is they make the trade for Josh Uche, and he don't even play. They never play him.
I know. Although I wouldn't say pass rush was an issue as much as, they need a corner. I think that they don't have someone since L'Jarius Sneed trade. And they definitely need, they'll get Rashee Rice back. So they will have Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy next year. So they'll be pretty dynamic as long as they get themselves a pretty good tackle. Let's say thank you to our friend, our good friend, Carl Stevenson, for the $10 donation. Really appreciate you, Carl. You've been with us along the way since the very beginning. We can't thank you enough. And what a great tidbit here. The 3 picks that they get from the Wentz trade was A.J. Brown, Jalen Carter, and Cooper DeJean. That is an incredible haul to trade a guy who didn't want to play for you. That's quite amazing. I was joking with my friends, Adam. Wouldn't this nightmare scenario be if before the game I said if like Mahomes got hurt and Wentz had to come in and he led the Eagles win?
How ironic that
was.
But he's wow, and he's still wearing number 11. But the thing is with this team is that yes, they were dominant, they were great. If you look at their future, man, this thing could roll. I don't want to say dynasty yet, but they have a very good chance to be really, really good for a long time. And in my lifetime, I'm a lifelong Philadelphian. I'm looking at the Flyers when they won back-to-back cups, but then it dissolved over a series of years. You know how bad the Flyers have been for a number of years. The Sixers have not gotten it right since 82, 83. I'm embarrassed by it, quite frankly, what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get out of the second round. And look, now the Phillies did it. The Phillies did it. They're a team, as you know, you're a big baseball guy. They got things going on. They're not quite there again. But the Eagles are the dominant team in this market. Like I don't remember anything like this. Like this is a role that this team. I mean, you're talking about 3 Super Bowl appearances in 8 years, 8 seasons, by the way, to be clear. 2 rings. They got the quarterback, the receivers, the offensive line, the defensive line, and the secondary. It's pretty damn good. They're set up for the future, folks.
Yeah, no, listen, I would love to see, just as a football fan, I would love to see the Chiefs and Eagles at least one more time, kind of a rubber match, Super Bowl.
Yeah, I love that.
And you're right, the way these teams build and what they have, it has the makings of sort of the NBA or the NFL version of Lakers Celtics, from the 80s when they would go back and forth, and each team would win a little bit here. It would be, there's certainly enough of a young nucleus here, and Mahomes has plenty of years ahead of him for that to happen. Now, you got guys like Stroud and Jaden Daniels coming up here who are going to try to threaten that. Josh Allen's still waiting for that ring. It ain't going to be easy, but the way these teams build, which is the right way, they build from the front to the back and then get themselves playmaking quarterbacks, then it is very, very, very realistic to see these teams duking it out at least one more time in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was talking to Coach DiFilippo over the weekend, and John said he cannot understand why teams don't mirror what the Eagles do with the offensive defensive lines. And I said to him, I go, dude, I've been saying that for years.
All the time.
It's the easiest thing to understand. In life, you study the successful people. What do they do? And if it works, why would you not do it? For the life of me, I don't understand.
It makes no sense to me. It is a recipe that, oddly enough, started with Andy Reid and Joe Banner, and now Andy Reid is doing it in Kansas City. Howie Roseman has adapted to it, and I really would I would love to see these teams go at it at least one more time in a grudge match type of Super Bowl. And I wouldn't mind if it was back in New Orleans again. I know that's going to be several years away, but I love New Orleans. I thought they did a great job as a host site, except for the Wi-Fi issue. But that's the only problem. It's probably not the worst thing in the world.
Oh, by the way, if for folks who are looking for some great sound this week, you have to hear the Emmitt Smith interview that we put up. I said to him, dude, could you stay an hour? Mm-hmm. He was incredible. The storytelling, his feelings about the Philadelphia Eagle fans and Philly. And he said a couple things which were so good. I'm not going to give it away if you haven't heard the interview. We have it on our podcast platform. Is it
it's on the podcast platform.
You have to hear it. In fact, you might as well, as you're waiting for them to announce when the parade's going to be. I thought it was going to be Wednesday. I'm not sure yet. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they've announced it yet.
No, I think it's Thursday. I believe it's Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, as you're trying to figure out what you're going to do this week in all your glory, you could listen to a lot of the shows we did from Radio Row were absolutely incredible, man. My old friend Dan Gargiano, Josina Anderson, who I work with. Who else did we talk to? That's
oh my God, Torrey Smith, Malcolm Jenkins, Hembo, Paul I can't pronounce his last name.
Hembo, from ESPN Stats. He's phenomenal.
So many great stats. You mentioned Emmitt Smith, Marcus Smith, I believe, was on the platform.
Oh, was Marcus Smith on there? I saw him. Yeah.
Let's see who else. Oh, there was just people. Oh, Dan Graziano was awesome.
Yeah. I talked to Malik Jackson. He's one of my favorite all-time guys. That's the first time I met him. He's another guy who could have talked for half an hour. Actually, we had to stop. I was like, man, I'm sorry. We're also supposed to do 8 minutes. I can't go over that.
Brian Baldinger, by by the way.
Baldy's the best.
Jason Josina Anderson, Lindsey Rhodes.
Jason was great.
How about Jason? Harry Douglas, Mike Smith, the former Jaguars coach, Mike Smith.
You mean a Falcons head coach? Yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
But I love what Avant said. He's pretty clear. The Eagles will either lose, but very close game, or they're going to blow them out. And I'm just like, he was the first one of all the former players to say it to me.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I didn't write them all down, but that was the one that stood out to me. I said, whoa, where are you getting this? And he explained it. And we saw the Chiefs offense as an issue. I didn't know it'd be this bad, but the Eagles defense, by the way, the other thing is they are so physical. And 98, it starts with 98. He's violent. Woo!
The man hurts people, literally and figuratively. He's going to be a stalwart in the middle for a long time. Adam, we are being asked about the potential of a post-game show. We would like to do it. The only thing is that after the Super Bowl, locker rooms, after a regular season game or a normal playoff game, the locker rooms are usually open 10 to 15 minutes after. After a Super Bowl, they open later, plus they bring guys to the podium, and it takes forever. So by the time Andrew gets back to the press box, it might be Tuesday. So let's promise the people this: if we do not do a post game show tonight, we'll have Andrew on tomorrow. We'll get his synopsis of being in the locker room. He'll still be in New Orleans. We'll get something going on with.
We'll do it tomorrow night. I'll do it tomorrow night.
Tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, whatever. Just it might be hard to wedge it in tonight. Plus, everybody wants to go out and party in the streets anyway. We know that too. What was your takeaway from this as we sort of get ready to wrap it up? Your biggest takeaway on this game?
I would have to say this is that this is one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen from an Eagles team. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what else you could say. Oh, by the way, Jake Elliott, as Philly Flyer Players, whatever his name is, in our chat, said, "You're right, man. He was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal."
Yep. And mine would be that, to your point on the physicality and the defense, physical offense, physical defense, they made Patrick Mahomes look like Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
They made Patrick Mahomes look like a scared quarterback who was going to be inaccurate. And then they did it to the receivers too. The receivers dropped passes. I think they heard feet coming. They made a two-time champion cower under the brightest lights, which is very, very difficult to do.
It's hard to do.
It is an amazing testament to what the Eagles have accomplished this year. And again, thank you to everybody who has followed us along the way, for watching this show, for watching Inside the Birds, for engaging, for loving our work, for hating our work, for whatever you want. We just thank you. And we really look forward to turning the page and seeing if the Eagles can have another great offseason and keeping this thing going. So if there's not going to be a post-game show. This will do it. The final post-game show of the 2024 season. For Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. You've been watching an Eagles Super Bowl champion post-game show on Inside the Birds.